See, this is why I have Hannah, because she remembers all that, and I just get to show up and talk. So this is really great. And for you those who are not aware, Hannah is my wife. She makes my life incredibly easy, and lets me be able to do this kind of stuff. Anywho, so before I go, no, where did I leave off? Understanding yourself. How do we start understanding ourselves and really connecting the dots to making this process easier, right? We've grown up, we've experienced the media, movies, the gym bros, and all the influencers. They say you got to cut your carbs, you got to get your protein, you got to start fasting, you got to do, like, you get old, you get fat, or all these things like we heard as a kid growing up that we just internalized. And then we're just supposed, and we expect, because we see people we knew growing up deal with it for so long, that we just have to deal with it ourselves. But it's not that. It doesn't have to be that process, especially when it comes to eating. So many people fear food. They live, and I work primarily with people who are under eating, and I'm sure you experience this as well, because so many people are chronically dieting because they've been told eat less, move more, eat less, move more. And again, there's some truth to that. Like, if everyone was binge eating, like, yes, that advice would be a clear blanket statement to help people lose weight. But the vast majority of people who've gained weight, it came on faster than they anticipated, usually because they had a lifestyle that slowed down as they got older. They weren't moving as much. All the stresses, poor digestion, poor sleep caught up to them, right? That's something I'll get into in a second. But now that we have a lot of people who are actively trying to lose weight, and they go back to, like, I want to feel like I did back in high school or college, where I could eat whatever I want, I didn't have to think about it. Well, at the time you were living way more actively, but also your body, it always is trying to make it a bad situation bearable. It's always connecting to it's trying to make, or no, it's always listening to you whether you're aware of it or not. And when we understand that everything our body's doing is a stimulus and a response and an adaptation, then we can start rewiring this process so that our body starts working for us rather than against us. So that why we're not losing weight makes more sense, instead of, like, I'm cutting my calories, I'm running it every day. Like, why isn't this working? So this is where we start to understand what your body needs and what your history is and where you're currently at. Like, it all starts with understanding of where you're at. So all the number stuff, really get this out of the way. There's 4 ways your body burns calories. I'm sure Clarissa has talked about this. It's not just movement. Actually, if me and Clarissa were to sit here all day and talking back and forth, we burn the majority of our calories in a day, right? This is called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. That's how you burn your most of the calories in a day. This is your brain function, heart pumping, breathing, digestion, everything that keeps you alive does a lot of the work for you. So everyone who's thinking they have to burn 1,000 calories in a workout, you don't. You really don't. And you're doing way too much if you are. And the other ones is daily activity. That burns roughly, that's the second most effective caloric burn in a day. And then exercise activity, thermogenesis, or thermic effective feeding are the other 2 ways our body burns calories. Thermic effective feeding is just the process of burning calories from the food you're eating. And again, making this process easy, thermic foods, the most thermic food, the food that burns most calories for you, is eating protein. All right. And Clarissa anyways know more about vegan protein than I do, but increasing all protein. Oh, sorry.
It is. Well, no, it is. But too, fiber has a really big impact on the thermic effect of food too. And all vegan foods are like ridiculously high in fiber. Like for myself, it's like super not hard to hit 70 grams of fiber in a day. So that in itself is has a huge impact on the thermic effect of food.
Exactly. And that's more tools to get your body working for you, as opposed to you always slashing calories. This is where we start to understand we can eat more food than we are and lose weight. Okay, so all that to put that in a nice little bow, those 4 ways that your body burns calories is your total daily energy expenditure. Many of us immediately jump to 1,000 to 1,200 calorie diets, or less than that. and it's a very hard process to help people understand that we don't want to live in that lifestyle, especially when we want to go on date nights, we want to enjoy birthdays, we want to enjoy special occasions, right? And we're going out, we're like counting every chip we're eating, we're always ordering skinny stuff just because we know the scale's going to go up the next day. Like this negative feedback loop that we trap ourselves in because we think we just need to cut calories is really what's making it as difficult as it has been for you in the long run. All right. So now that we understand caloric burn is more than just exercise, that first number, that basal metabolic rate, that's where many people need to kind of live for a little while. All right. This is where we start to improve how you feel. Because when we start understanding how many calories you're eating, if you've been eating low calories for such a long time, you need to understand your bare minimum calories first. That number that keeps your body functioning without you having to think about it. If you're always below that number, something's got to give. If stress is always super high and food intake is always super low, your body's going to say, like, it's always listening, and it's very primitive. It's 2 million years old, and it doesn't care about your weight loss goals. It cares about the only thing your body cares about is keeping you alive. Body fat is essential for life. It is a hormone producer. It is a energy storage system. It is what has kept us so adaptive for a long time, right? It's not just this thing that's supposed to make your life miserable. Everything our body does has been a adaptation for survival. Okay, so again, going back to it, when we understand our body's always listening, and the stress is super high and food is super low, and we're way below that basal metabolic rate number, the calories that our body needs bare minimally, well, something is going to give. Something's going to slow down because those calories are needed to function, just to keep you alive, because survival is number one rule. So your metabolism is going to slow down because of it's adapting to the stimulus, right? And because your metabolism isn't able to feel comfortable burning energy, it's going to store energy for later survival purposes. It's also going to slow down other metabolic functions, brain fog, poor gut health and digestion. Your sleep is going to start to give. Like, there's so many other factors that are going to make your life a lot harder, because we're always stuck in this bubble of, I have to stop eating. I have to eat as little as possible. And then we feel terrible. And then we go on another diet. And again, the process never ends. It never ends. So before I go and squirrel brain, I need to focus. Get back on track. The process of making this easy is listening to what your body's been saying to you, and you haven't been able to hear it. Like I said earlier, your body is making a difficult decision or a difficult situation bearable for you. We accept we're supposed to be groggy. We accept we're supposed to be chronically bloated, and we expect to be constipated, having diarrhea, or we have upset stomach, indigestion. All these things with low energy, all these things we expect to have them, and it just becomes normal. It's not normal. That's how your body's communicating that, hey, something is wrong, and we need to slowly improve that, right? So again, start listening to those signals. And calories matter. Don't get me wrong. But where we need to understand first is, you need to understand who you are. What do you need? What are your non-negotiables? Do you want to wear a little dress for your date night? Do you want to look shredded in a bathing suit? Like, what do you want? What is the end goal here, right? How do you want to live afterwards? Do you want to be counting calories forever? Probably not. No, you don't. You probably want to be able to enjoy this the process of living. You want to be able to have pizza every now and again. You want to be able to be a person without saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm on keto, or sorry, I can't touch that because I'm on a diet. No, there's supposed to be food freedom. So anyway, we understand where we're going, why we want to get there. Why we want to get there is super important, because you want to live comfortably. You don't want to live like this. You're always looking over your shoulder, or you have someone living on your shoulder like, hey, like, you could be doing better right now. You shouldn't be eating that. That's going to make you fat. You're going to gain 5 pounds. Again, it's a never-ending cycle. So now we understand why we want to get there. Now we need to understand where we're at right now. What is slowing you down? Because you've been cutting calories for a long time. It's been miserable. You hate it. You haven't felt any better. And if you've lost weight, it probably hasn't stayed off. And again, the cycle can start right back over. So we understand that. Now we understand our basal metabolic rate, why just simply cutting calories isn't going to be super effective for you in the long run. So now we start focusing on improving the daily stuff, improving the daily activity, focusing on stress reduction, getting more sleep before bed, disconnecting from the internet, focusing on improving hydration, improving your food quality. Like, all those things I talked about how shitty you felt with low energy, brain fog, poor digestion, a lot of those are going to start improving and fixing themselves when you start improving food quality. And what I mean by that is Prioritize as much as your own food first. Okay, I don't care about calories until you feel better. That's really it. So prioritize as much of your home cooked meals first. And for me, this is how I teach my clients. For a good idea of how to start, I mean, I keep things simple. I'm someone who can eat the same thing every day and be totally fine with that. I know there's not a lot of people like that. But I keep it simple for my clients. It's half the plate's a vegetable, a quarter of the plate's a complex carbohydrate, and the last quarter is some sort of protein. All right. And this is something that is going to be well balanced. It's going to help you get a lot of micronutrients. They're going to fill a lot of gaps in your system. And this is where you're going to start to improve how your body functions while slowly increasing your calories, getting you closer to that basal metabolic rate where your body says, oh, wait, food's no longer scarce. Wait, you're not dying? Whoa, 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 what is happening here? Oh, I don't need to hold on to energy. Oh, you're sleeping better. You're more hydrated. Oh, like this morning, I have a client who's in her mid 60s, and we just got off the phone, and we simply improved her steps, improved her food quality, just like because she's had the gastric sleeve surgery. She was eating once a day, and she was not seeing any weight loss. We slowly improved her vegetable intake first, then we add fruit in there, and now she's eating those full meals and still incorporating date night every now and again. We haven't even put her on a diet yet. And the first time in 40 years, she's lost 6 pounds, gone through 2 holidays and 4 birthdays without gaining any of the weight back, just from improving food quality and stress relief. That is it. My favorite thing to hear from anyone I work with personally is I don't feel like I'm doing anything crazy. You're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be like it's a journey for a reason, but it's not the way we perceive it as. It's not supposed to be this grind every day, work for it, and really put your body through the grinder. It's something that is supposed to add value to your life. It's supposed to make you feel better. And when you start to accept that, when you start to accept like how you feel matters more than the number on the scale, more than how much calories you can cut, more than how much you can work out, like everything starts to fall into place for you because you start prioritizing yourself in an indirect way. And all those mental stresses you used to experience with food, it starts to kind of fall away. They'll still like try to scratch and crawl their way back every now and again, right? Because we all know it's hard to deal with certain things in our brains. But the mental shift is understanding that you're not supposed to be miserable. You're supposed to feel good. Your body's trying to feel good. It's been trying to tell you it wants to feel good for a long time. And chronically undereating for a very long time and over exercising or not doing anything at all, and your body's just trying to make this as bearable as it possibly can, hasn't worked for you in the past. So when you start to switch and focus on you and start to feel better, improve your energy, improve how your food digests in your stomach, improve your sleep, improve your hydration levels, improve your food quality, like that's all you really need to care about. Calories, calorie counting, all that is super cool, but it doesn't mean shit if you can't do the basic stuff and really focus on yourself first. Does that make sense, Clarissa? I know I just went pinball all over the place.
Yeah, no, I think it makes complete sense. We've had not a lot of questions, like actually no questions, but a lot of comments agreeing with you and a lot of likes and actually hearts. So
good.
People are watching and they are getting value.
Good. I'm happy because I really care about this. Like this is something, and to kind of go a little bit off, not off track, but not only is like the health piece super important, like the body weight and looking better in clothes, but also the mental state that we live in, right? And I'm someone who struggled with mental health issues for a very long time. I've been suicidal 2 times in my life, and a lot of it had to do with my own self-worth and how I look. Like I compared myself to other people, and again, like I see like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and doing all his crazy workouts, and he's on testosterone and probably steroids, and like it's not a game that we need to be comparing ourselves to. And I think that's a super. I want you to take this away as well. Is now that you kind of understand it, you're supposed to feel better first and just feel like a person again. All those tools, all those people that you idolize or you compare yourself to, they don't like they don't matter. They don't. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own unique journey. Like some people will lose weight really fast. Some people will take a little bit longer. That's okay. Like tunnel vision, this is your story. This is there's this I can't remember who. I was listening to a video this morning. I can't remember who said it, but you're writing your book every day. You get to put something exciting, something challenging on the pages, and the most exciting piece about that is that you get to talk about how you overcame those challenges. Your challenges matter more than anyone else on the internet, right? We're all here to try and be a little bit better for ourselves, but it's that we put all our problems with a number on a scale and comparing ourselves to other people, and these outdated perceptions of losing weight and losing body fat. All you have to focus on is you. And even if that sounds a little selfish, if you do take the time to take care of yourself, I mean, everything opens the door for you, right? And I have so many stories I can share about that for my own that weren't even fitness related, because I decided to put myself first. And really, when I'm working with people, when I'm talking to other coaches, like that's the real goal here, is that you start to feel better about yourself overall. You start to, like, the scale is a byproduct of what you do, what the input you put into, like the consistency you build, and start feeling better. Like this is where the mental stress starts to go away, and you start to feel like your best self without the scale being there, and then you can still have a weight loss goal, don't get me wrong, but the real true easy part is shedding this old perception of how the process is supposed to go, accepting that it's super simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it, and if it's not working, you're probably doing something wrong. Not that you're messing it up, like it's just been false. There's truth in every piece of information, but not the whole truth.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah. What would you say to someone that's totally caught up on the scale as an indicator of progress?
I would tell them that that's kind of hard because everyone's a little different, right? But I will always ask them why. Why is the scale the only indicator of success? Right. And usually they'll go back. It's like, that's what I weighed in high school. That's when I felt my best. They only remember the number on the scale. And I like to think it's because of like The Biggest Loser, or like the old TV shows, the reality TV shows we used to watch, of all the skinny people. They talk about weight loss and blah, 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 blah. So then like we get hyper fixated on the scale only, right? But there's multiple ways to measure success and progress. And it's really hard to really change that when you've been thinking that same thought pattern for so long. So I'm really big on behavior change and understanding the why behind everything. And I like to think of any behavior like or indication of success, like looking at a scale, and that's the only measure of your progress, as like you've trained that muscle over and over and over and over and over again. Like you've trained your biceps so much. Like if I come in here and say, hey, there's more ways to track progress, that's me like telling you to train your triceps. And it's like, this is new. I don't like this. I'm a lot weaker at this. I like my comfort zone of being able to feel strong or feel like I am making progress with the scale. The training the triceps, you're crazy. Like that's not actual progress because of how I've been thinking for so long. So I mean, there's so many ways to track progress, and the beauty, or I think the most undervalued like form of progress is consistency, right? So many people will go all or nothing, especially with New Year's resolutions. I'm not against New Year's resolutions. I'm against people who repeat the same ones over and over and over again. And they know it. It's like, oh, it's January 1st. Well, last year I only made it 2 months. The year before that, I made it 6 weeks. Like, okay, great. You know that with your track record that you're probably not going to last on this one either, right? So let's make it a goal to make it farther than your last New Year's resolution. They get past the 6 weeks and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know I could do that. And then that's a win. That's a measure of progress, and without ever looking at the scale. And then we have body fat measurement or body composition measurements, right? Like if the scale's not going down, you could still be shrinking. If you have things going on, like body fat and losing weight aren't always synonymous. You can drop. I've had many clients not lose a pound and lose 3 or 4 inches around their waist from just simply adjusting their lifestyle habits first. Never put that. We don't start people with diets because that's what they do all the time. So anyway, all that being said, is where we go when you're tracking progress is like, if you've only used a scale for so long and it's either said you're successful or you're a failure, like there's the extremes of putting the scale away and tracking like your consistency, tracking your steps, and like being a better version of you in some way every day, right? You don't have to show up as a 10 out of 10 all the time. You can definitely be, you can be a 4 out of 10, and you can be that best 4 that ever is. And again, another way to track is to measure success is something I learned in after reading Atomic Habits. Like, we just need to interrupt the thought pattern. We just need to interrupt the current situation. So many people undervalue, like, I'm not in the mood to go work out today, so I'm not going to work out. Well, if you just stand up, put your shoes on, and like act like you're going to go to the gym, that's still progress. That's a success. That's a mental win. There's so many ways to measure success without ever looking at the scale, and so many people don't feel like that it's success, right? It's like because they've been trained to focus on one thing. But if you could just win one mental battle with yourself every day, those stack up, right? And I love to use the analogy, the Great Wall of China wasn't built in a day, right? They had to lay one brick at a time, or you don't summit Mount Everest on the first day. You have to make base camp every now and again, but eventually you're going to get there. And I love being the Sherpa that helps you get up there. So I can get your focus on the trail in front of you instead of looking down at the scale the whole time. Or if we're going back to the mountain metaphor, you're looking down off the cliff at everything that could go wrong. Well, you should just look at what's just one step at a time. And there's so many different ways to track progress other than the scale. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I think that was great. Thank you so much. It aligns a lot like with what I tell everyone too. So I think it's just good to get it to, have more opinions on more knowledge on, yes, there are different ways, and no, we're not defined by a number at all. We did have another question. She says, you mentioned you did a lot of research. Any reading suggestions for macros, nutrition, quality food, and this overall mindset?
Oh man, okay.
Big question.
That is a very great question. So I would recommend for mindset the current book I'm reading, which is basically laid out the first 2 decades of my entire life. And it's Psychology is the New Mindset. And it goes a lot over the 2 mindsets that we all live in, the fixed and the growth mindset. And a lot of us lived in the fixed mindset, which is essentially you only have a certain amount of capability and there's no progression beyond that. Like, if I've struggled to lose weight, I'll always lose weight. The contrast is a growth mindset, where you take a challenge, you always you find a way to push through, persevere, and acquire new skills. So for mindset, I highly recommend that book. Macros, I don't have a good macro book, but Eat Smarter by Sean Stevenson is a great book to help you understand food in general. He teaches intermittent fasting. I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting, but a lot of the nutrition info in there is super beneficial. And I think for anyone who wants to understand their food quality and how to start improving it, that's a great book to read because it gives you a lot of understanding of what food actually is. If you've never talked to a coach before or Google, been down too many Google rabbit holes, it's very concise. And he's also he's pretty funny in the book as well. So for mindset, Psychology is the New Mindset, and for nutrition and understanding food quality, Eat Smarter by Sean Stevenson. Quality books. And I currently have an assistant coach, and I've had her read both of those. So I think it's super beneficial for everyone to just understand their food a little bit more, especially with those books and their mind.
Right. No, I think those are both great books. Have you read Layne Norton's Fat Loss Forever?
I have not. I saw his podcast today. Is it good?
Okay. It is good. I have it. It's like a textbook. It's like literally this big if you print it. Yeah. But it's a really good book on understanding macros and nutrition and the whole reverse diet process.
Really?
So again,
okay.
It's more like a textbook than I'm going to plug this into my Audible and walk for 10 miles,
It's like, all right, I'm gonna study now. Here we go.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
man, do you know who Ben Greenfield is?
I do not.
He, when I was first starting out in the online space, he was like this biohack guy, and I'm not a big fan of the biohack word, but he's like someone who actually tries to biohack his system. And he wrote a book called Limitless, and he went down a giant rabbit hole that was like this thick,
Wait
and it
a
was just
second. I've listened to Limitless on Audible.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
guess I don't pay attention to the author's names on Audible because,
yeah.
I'm walking.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You're focused. That's all. It's super. I read a lot of that book, and it is a textbook, and it was just like
Okay. Yeah, it was a
that was
long
like
one.
my yeah, that was some of my first exposure to like talking about nutrition because I didn't start off with like getting a nutrition certification, and it just like went down this rabbit hole of understanding brown and white fat, and I was like, what world did I just enter here?
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Um, do you want to, um, you can access the chat. Can you put the names of the books in there so that they can look them up?
In the
In the
Zoom
Zoom
chat,
chat.
yeah, I could do that. Can they see that in the Facebook group?
No, but I'll just transfer it over.
Okay, cool. Eat Smarter, Sean Stevenson. And then the other one is Psychology.
Who
Oh
was
man,
that?
oh, I don't know how to spell psychology. Don't judge me.
Okay. That's what autocorrect is for.
um, okay, and I don't know the author of Psychology of the New Mindset, but she's a um, therapist who's been in the games for years, and yeah, she just basically read my entire first 2 decades of my life, and I was like, wow, how do you know me so well? And I felt pretty good to be like, I'm not in those situations anymore, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, no, I think it's easy to find. I mean, there's what, 7 billion people in the world, but I think it's like super easy to find so many people that have commonalities with us. And it's a misconception that I think a lot of people have is that you're alone and like you're having these problems and you're having these things and you're the only one. And it's so not true.
Oh yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Also, before I go down my rabbit hole again, I also suggest everyone reads Atomic Habits.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic book. Um, yeah, so that what you just said, well, a lot of us like to dig our own holes when we're
Oh yeah.
struggling. We we like to isolate. We don't like to show that we're struggling. We don't like to really say like, "Hey, I'm having a hard time." And the
It's hard.
it's so difficult. We don't like being vulnerable, especially in a world where you see your neighbors and they're living their best life. Like there was literally a time, our old neighbor, me and Hannah, we lived with her parents for a little while, and their old neighbors, they're going through a really rough divorce. And the wife came up to Hannah and was like, "Oh my God, I love everything you guys post on social media. You look like the happiest couple ever." And then she's like, "Oh, you follow me on social media. That's super cool." And then she went over to our neighbor, and Hannah went over to her social media, and what the wife was posting was a lot of fluff. She wasn't talking about her divorce. She was still saying like, "I'm living my best life, happy, LOL selfie, all this stuff," and no matter what, like we can be going through the toughest times of our life, but we will hide it to make sure this facade stays in place, because apparently it's not good to show weakness or sadness or anything like that, and because of that we try to isolate ourselves, and we think we need to deal with this problem on our own, and a lot of the times it just lets us sit in our own on our own ways, and it gets again it strengthens those bad habits that keep us stuck, and it never ends the cycle. So if you're truly someone who is tired of that kind of stuff, like look in the mirror and just review. Just it always starts with a bit of a self-assessment and understanding like something, if it hasn't worked in the past, it's not going to work again, especially if you have a track record with that. And really it's not bad to ask for help, to reach out and ask questions. And I don't want to speak for you, Clarissa, but if anyone ever asks me a question on social media, I'm more than happy to help them. They don't
Absolutely.
like it. They don't like it when I ask them like 30 questions back, so I can make sure I can help them out the best way I can. But
Right.
like there's a lot of people out there that just want to help. And if you can break through that fear and that anxiety of like, hey, I don't actually know what to do here, like you're gonna open the doors for so many other possibilities that. And that's why I love fitness and health journeys so much, because they tie into every other aspect of our life, and if you can get through a tough time through a fitness journey, that's like the most mentally taxing thing you've ever been through, you can get through anything essentially, because that's so you go through a lot of trauma experience that you haven't been able to, and you kind of see how you deal with stressful situations, and you learn to overcome them. And again, that translates into your marriage, or your relationships, or into your job, or into anything that you want to be good at, or you're trying to be the best at. If you can improve your health and fitness, like you're getting a leg up against a lot of people who just continue to live lives unhappy, frustrated, constantly looking like down on themselves and kicking themselves when they're down. When the answers are out there, the people are out there to help you. You just gotta just kind of go out on a limb sometimes, or just hire a coach, and it's a lot easier.
That makes it so much easier. Oh my God, if I had hired a coach like during my first 5 years, I would have so not had so much freaking frustration.
Oh yeah, retweet.
Here's to figuring out things on your own.
Yes. Oh, I think we're a lot alike, Clarissa. I think we always have been. Oh man.
Awesome. We're not seeing any other questions. We do still have tons of hearts coming in, so that's super exciting. Thank you
That
so
makes
much
me
for
happy.
sharing so much value with us tonight. I think it's been super good. I know the people that ask for books are all happy with your recommendations.
Good, good. I'm happy to share. Like I love doing this stuff. If I could do it for free, I would, and I do it a lot of the time anyway. So like I could talk for days. So thank you for even letting me be here. This means a lot to
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, Jonah. We'll go ahead and wrap things up now. And then, yeah, if you feel like heading back in and want to, present something else to the group, you're always more than welcome to. Everyone really enjoyed this evening, and thank you for spending part of your Wednesday night with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon. And Lori, Sue, thank you so much for being in here and listening to me rant for a little while. It's been fun.
Thank you.
All right. You're very welcome, Lori. Awesome.
Thanks.
You're welcome,
All right.
Sue.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So we're good.
Don't forget to stop the recording now.